All right. Hey, you guys. Welcome back. This is Nat and Jacqui here from If Only They Told Me. Yay!
Hello.
Welcome. We're so excited to be doing episode 2 from our new series, which is Teens and Tweens. So we are focusing on parenting teens and tweens. We got the lovely Monica Moore here with us.
Hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Monica's from Delicious Decisions.
Absolutely. I think we need to stop now and teach you how to say delicious decisions. So the reason why I call what I do, my brand, Delicious Decisions, is that it is quite difficult to say if you say it just in your mouth.
Yes.
But if you articulate, I just made a delicious decision, you need to move your core. Oh. And when you move your core, it gives you a small, what I like to call, ooh. And when you have a little ooh, that actually releases a little bit of dopamine or serotonin, or if you're with somebody else, some oxytocin. And they are all the feel-good hormones. So each time you do something like, should I sit down and have a coffee and catch up with myself, or should I wash that kitchen floor? Whichever one you choose, you must say, that was a delicious decision.
Okay.
From the core, and that will give you a feel-good. And the more you do that, the better you will get at making a delicious decision.
Stay with us. Awesome. So you guys, today, in case you haven't noticed, our topic is, in fact, decision making. So as parents, we got to make a lot of decisions, but we're going to focus on the teens and the tweens and where their brain's at and the decisions that they make and how we can mentor them, I suppose, and possibly role model when you make good decisions, and sometimes when we make not great decisions, and how we respond to that too. So thank you for joining us. If you're on the Facebook Live, hello, please comment. Let us know how old your kids are or any experiences that you have around decisions, and also on the YouTube Zoom as well. So Monica, before we dive in, can you give people a little bit of a backstory about what you are up to at the moment and what brought you here?
Okay, certainly, thank you. So I was involved in education as a teacher and in various roles within that for 32 years. I've had the privilege of teaching 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And quite unusually, I taught some of the 5-year-olds again around 15. And from that, I learned a lot. I've also run a business, Monica Moore Productions, and which I write and sell stage musicals all around the world. I absolutely love it because theatre has so much to offer in terms of learning experiences, particularly confidence. And in 2016, I decided to have a change. I wrote some national resources around sexuality and relationships for schools. And then from there, I started to facilitate courses, and that morphed into me becoming a speaker. I've had a lot of interest in New Zealand society and how it all works and where our issues are. And it's morphed into delicious decisions.
You are one busy lady, and as well as all of that, you've also raised your own tweens and teens.
Absolutely. I have got 3 of the most delicious human beings on the planet, and they are fabulous adults, but the journey certainly wasn't always easy at times. And so I've had a little bit of experience at being a parent. Also, I have the most delicious foster son who was very much an important part of their family. And we've also had about 3 or 4 other people that came into our lives, and I call them my children as well because of the wonderful experiences they've given us.
Amazing. Well, we're excited to dive into that depth of knowledge today. Obviously, Jacqui and I, if you guys haven't met us, we wrote our book, Bookshot.
I have it right here.
We wrote our book, If Only They Told Me, and that really focuses on everything from pregnancy to starting school. And now we've decided to come on back now that our kids are older. And so we really are just going into the tween years ourselves.
Yes, that's right. I have got a boy that's just turned 13. So I'm just on the brink of it all happening, and I'm dreading the next few years. Although I'm sure it'll be very rewarding as well. So I'm really looking forward to today with Monica.
Yeah, me too. So I've got a 12-year-old and then I've got younger ones as well. So yeah, any advice, insight that you can provide, not just for us, but for the people watching. And of course, a lot of people watching are also, they've been through the teen and tweens. Maybe, you guys have tons of knowledge as well. So we're super open to that. As we always say, we're not the experts.
We're the best friends you never knew you had.
Yes, we are. Okay, cool. So let's talk about decision-making. Like, what is that?
Well, of course, decisions and decision-making, it's crucial to your life outcome. So I speak about what the value that we put around learning about decision making. And of course, some of the best ways to make good decisions is to make mistakes. However, when we make those mistakes, they're not worth making if A, we don't learn from them, and B, we don't share our knowledge. And that connectivity between people, of course, and hearing and being open to what they have to say can have a massive impact on how we feel about our own mistakes and then carry on to make better decisions. We don't want to live in the era of our own judgments. We don't want to be there all the time going, oh, this terrible thing happened. And we call that shame. And when you have shame, it's a good road marker saying, oh, look, I feel terrible about this. Own it, claim it, learn and move on, because everybody has it at some stage in their life. That's something not happening.
So as a parent, how can we almost encourage our children to make mistakes and realise it's okay to make those mistakes?
I think one of the best places is around the dining table, and I know how difficult that is in today's modern world, but that's where great conversation comes in. So it's cell phones away and assembling as often as you can. I think it's a bit unrealistic to be expecting to do that every night. So a little tip that we did as a family was one good thing about, if you had one negative thing that happened in your day, you had to provide two good things, and it was around the table. And yes, I had teenagers eye-rolling going, oh, do we have to do this? And it was just simply, yes, this is what we do. And that was really good. And then from that, you often got lots of snippets of information about your children that you thought was happening, or you didn't know was happening.
That's right, because
really
especially those ages, that tweens or teens in particular don't share as much.
No. And you have to share it yourself too. So I will say, oh gosh, I went to this meeting today and I didn't realise there was going to be 50 people there, and I was in my old sweet top and pants, for example, and I felt a little bit embarrassed. However, I met these two really interesting people and this great thing happened. So you have to teach them to balance up the bad with a couple of good things.
I call that having some bun with your burger.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like when people give you feedback. If they only give you the burger, you're like, hello, I did some good stuff.
Yes.
So bun with the burger.
Absolutely. You need to do the big picture, because sometimes children will hang on to that. Well, they won't share the bad thing, particularly if parents are always looking like everything is sunshine and bubbles and going really well because they're protecting their children. Sometimes you need to reveal, not everything, of course, but you need to reveal what could be going on, and just learning to have that dialogue, because the more we connect with people and share, and that new buzzword, authenticity, it's been around for a while, but just revealing yourself so the children think, oh gosh, my mother or my father or caregiver had this struggle and they're overcoming it. So I've got this problem. I saw my mother, my father, whoever it is, overcoming it. So I'm going to do that as well, rather than thinking, my parents have great lives doing everything and they don't understand how I feel. So that's really important.
So really we're basically being their role models and showing them it's okay to make a mistake.
Absolutely.
And how you deal with that.
Children will role model. They won't listen to the rule if you aren't involved in that rule and what you're doing.
So you're really encouraging, to an extent, that growth mindset. I know people have heard of it, fixed mindset, growth mindset. We're encouraging that growth mindset, like, okay, what went well? What would you do differently next time? Like, what have you learned from this?
Absolutely.
So the other day, I'll have a little story time. So the other day, Ruby, she'd injured her toe recently, and she has a cheerleading competition this weekend, tomorrow, and she was deciding, do I or do I not do the cross-country race? Now, Ruby is generally a perfectionist personality, so she does not take decision-making lightly, and she also is quite a good runner, so she likes to do well. So there are a few factors. And we decided that morning, I said, well, she's like, Daddy wants me to do it. I'm like, I know, but you've got this comp on the weekend. How long is it? She's like, it's 2 or 3 or 4K. I said, okay, well, why don't we decide? We'll pick a number, a K, and we'll be like, if it's over that, do it. And if you're under that, do it. And if it's over that, don't. So we decided on 3K. And I went to pick her up. And I said, did you do it? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay. And she's like, but Daddy's going to be mad at me. I said, don't worry about Daddy. What was your logic? I said, in the CW family, we don't do guilt. So don't worry about that. But what was your logic? Because we do empowered choices, right? Intentional, empowered choices. And she said, well, you said 3K, and it was 3K, so I didn't do it. And I was like, oh, I meant it was 3K. Yeah, whatever. So it's a communication. But I said, you know what? Just don't feel bad about it as long as you know why. Daddy's not going to be mad at you. He's just going to want to know why you made that choice and how you feel about it. It took her a long time to like let that go. She probably still regrets, and I don't like that word, right? Because she felt like she was letting someone down. So can you, or maybe you, Jackie, as well, comment on when we're making decisions, but most of it's worried about what someone else will think.
Well, I think a really good way around that is, particularly if you've got a perfectionist child, is to take it to the big picture. So I would be saying to Ruby, when we're at your 21st and Dad is getting up and talking to you, he's going to tell you how proud he is of you. I already know that because I've had some more experience, and I do know Dad as well, and he's going to be so proud of you. Is he going to stand up and say, by the way, Ruby, when you were 12, I was so disappointed? So you realise that that's a momentary issue and a very small blip in a big picture. So sometimes when you're worried about this school assignment, and when you're 25 and you've got the life that you want, no one's ever going to care. Listen, when you sat that maths test when you were 12 and you didn't pass, what's going on? It's not going to have a big impact, and it's part of making a decision. And the big learning is that when you make a decision, I call it the level of agency. So whether you're going to have honey or Marmite on your toast, well, no matter what you choose, if you chose the Marmite and thought, I really wish I had the honey, or the other way around, none of your decisions are ever going to make you happy. However, you say, gosh, I'm glad I've got that Marmite. Whoa, it's got vitamin B. I feel great. I'm going to move on with it. Because there is always a time when the decisions can be like this. So if a child makes a decision like that, you say, you've put agency into that, and it isn't going to massively affect your life outcomes. However, in 2 years' time, if she's going to do the same one, and she said, well, I've still got that memory of my sore toe when I was 12, I can't, then you've got a problem. So it's looking at the prioritising.
I love how you did what you did with that, is you help them put it into perspective. But also, I think, while also acknowledging that it means a lot to them, because if we always go like, oh, that's no big deal, you're not even going to remember that, right? So we still want to acknowledge that this is hard for them and it's a big deal for them. And I love that you looked at the big picture. I often say to Ruby, I was like, okay, well, for me, decision-making generally comes down to, if it's not a yes, it's a no. Like if it's a maybe. If it's a I don't know, it's a no. Meaning, I say, well, does doing the cross-country race head you towards where you want to go in life or in the future? Like, do you want to run zones? Because she was qualified. She was like, no, I don't want to run zones at all. I was like, okay, do you want to pursue running? No, not really. So I mean, that can help you make the decision. So that's what we do in my family, is we kind of go back to the bigger goal of what's important to you, where you want to head.
Totally. And using questioning. So I wouldn't say, don't worry, at your 21st, this is going to happen. It will be, how are you going to feel? I know that Dad will be proud of you. So it's looking at your life outcomes and where that fits. And at that time, yes, because on the other side of it, that toe ligament could have stretched, something could have happened, it could have been worse. So she's actually protecting her ability to be able to.
The podiatrist was very happy she did not run, and I told her that. I told her that too. She felt it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for young people to make decisions or be able to make decisions easily, because so often in their lives, we as parents have been making the decisions for them. So when do we know when it's time to step back and let them, make their own decisions, and therefore probably their own mistakes?
I think it's about having like a parameter of this invisible safety zone. So if they're making a decision about, well, I wear the pink dress or the blue dress, obviously that's completely theirs.
Yes.
If they're making a decision to go and stay at a friend's house and you don't know the family or the people or the circumstances, then obviously you're stepping in. You're involved, because children or tweens don't have those life experiences. But also asking 3 questions. What do you know about this? What do you feel about this? And what are you going to do about this? Are really, really useful. So I call it TIE. There's all the T is for all the things that you say or do. So you said you were going to do the dishes tonight. You said that, but you didn't do them. So that's out of balance. What do you know about this? And then you'll have what I often call the library of excuses, which we all have.
Yes.
We all have a library of excuses, and I know I have actually told some people I needed to burn the library of excuses down, because that becomes an enormous roadblock, even as adults, for us to do what we want to do.
Definitely. 6 a.m, going to the gym. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I've got a meeting.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. We're all very, very good at it. And sometimes you need to be, you need to be, because it's also a protection zone as well. But it's very good to empower children to do that, and particularly with teenagers when they are. Should I talk a little bit about teenagers?
Yeah, let's talk about teenagers.
Completely out of whack, and that's a big thing. One thing that I learned in a postgrad paper I did for counselling about dealing with teenagers is that teenagers are trying to convert their childhood into a memory, and it's part of a grief process as well. And then there's 20 million hormones running around in them, and for some people they can cope really well, and for other people completely out of whack. Or 1 month they're fine and the next month they're not. Or suddenly your son sits at the table and his arms are a lot longer than their legs. So all of these crazy things are happening to their bodies and their minds. They are generally not in a mindset to make some rational decisions about difficult adult things without you putting that invisible fence. However, I use a story, and it is a Christian story from the Bible, just quickly, the Garden of Eden. Here you go, have a beautiful garden, go play, but whatever you do, don't eat the apple. So what happens? You want to eat the apple. So telling a teenager don't do this usually doesn't work. So quick story about one of my children. We announced at the table, I'm going to get a tattoo. But, okay, now how am I going to get around this 14-year-old wanting a tattoo? A 14-year-old that you didn't say no to because it didn't work. I said, okay, that's great. You need to give it a lot of thought about what you want to do. Yes, I'm going to. And it was horrific skulls and things that I know that child as an adult would have regretted.
In the future.
So instead of saying,
no, you're not.
No, I said, that's really interesting. So you've got to be creative as a parent.
Yeah. So
the next time we were in a place where I saw a tattoo shop, and the person sitting outside certainly looked like there'd been some substances in his body. It looked disgusting. So I just pulled up outside it and I said, oh, look, we're here to get your tattoo. It's a surprise. Here we go. Now, look, should your skin I know this child very well. Should you get the skin get very infected and inflamed, you are prepared that once the inflammation, if it gets too bad, you might have some scar tissue. So choose part of your body that you don't mind being quite maimed. And just with the pain, because I know you're super sensitive with your skin, but you should be okay. They say that it's like a searing knives, right, stabbing right through you, but you should be fine because, this is what you want to do.
Wow.
And so just watching him sitting there weighing it up. And was I completely honest? No. Was I telling the extremist story? Yes. Did that child get a tattoo? No.
How did he just say then and there, I'm just going to think about it a bit more, Mum, or what?
I don't feel like it today. So that you shut down, you respect that, and you move on. It was never mentioned.
Right.
A similar story, the same with, there was a period of time where having a nose ring with a chain round to an ear was on the pop music videos.
Yeah.
And so that was and so that was announced as well. So fortunately, we were away doing something. He was in a sporting competition. And there was the most horrific looking piercing place, similar story. Now, should you infect around your nose and they removed it because of being a little bit hypochondriac, they knew that was going to work. So sometimes you can maneuver, and it is like a dance.
For you guys watching, when you were younger, did you want to get a tattoo or a piercing? I actually wanted a tattoo on my arm here, like a band, one of those band things. And we recently had my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and we did these toasts, and we stood up, and I was like, thank you, Dad, for not letting me get that tattoo.
So how did they get around it?
Back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, he was like, no, that's a no from us,
And that is true. Sometimes you have to say no. Particularly, I think a big issue in New Zealand is around alcohol and drugs. So you just have to talk about that so often and explain that what happened to everybody. I used to say to my children, my goodness, I'm so, I feel worried about you because when I was a teenager, I might have been vulnerable towards that. And I know that if I had it, then, I don't know if I have a great sense of self-discipline that I could stop. So it's frightening. So just letting them know about it. No, you must say no. And yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Like talking about going down that path of, now you're going to parties and stuff. So without sounding like, well, back when I was, younger, but you kind of, because their decision making is affected, their inhibitions for, relationships and alcohol, it changes. And as you said,
Absolutely.
they can't see the longevity of their decision making at that age.
No, they can't. And sometimes you have to remember, we're not their friend, we're their parent, and it's a completely different role. And I think one of the things around this, particularly driving and with alcohol, is you must take action quite quickly. So just another story, one of the children was on a learner's license and had a sip of beer, and I do believe it would have been a sip. I could smell it when they got home. So keys, car, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And it was for a month. And it was quite difficult for us as well. Particularly, I then had to drive them further, but you have to do that.
Yeah.
And you have to make it non-negotiable, because that's lives at risk. So obviously you need to be, and call the parents wherever they're going. And if they tell the story, it is absolutely true. Every teenager will tell you that you are the only parent that's called the parents to find out what's going on. You're the only one.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Yeah, that's right, and we're often the only ones who don't let them have devices in the bedroom at night and all sorts of things. But then
everybody else is allowed.
Yeah,
and how else do you teach? Because one of the most wonderful skills that every human being needs is a work ethic and self-discipline. And when we don't have structure, routine, and positive love in our lives, it is disarray. I know that myself. When I stopped working, I was actually ill, and then I wasn't working a salary job. I was self-employed, and suddenly I had to manage myself, and I found that difficult. And I was an adult that used to speak about this and teach my own children.
Yes.
So they need that framework. It's if you go to a party, it's till 10 o'clock, and this is not what's happening.
Yeah.
You cannot do this until you are 16.
Yeah.
But and explaining why. So yes, there are deal breakers.
Yes.
But you need to pick your battles. If they haven't made their bed for 2 weeks or 2 years or 2 months, it's not near as difficult.
Of course, it's one of the bigger ones.
Sneaking out the window.
Yeah. What about friendships? Decisions around friendships and making, friends that
boyfriends and girlfriends.
Yes, and that don't influence them, for the worse, like encouraging them to drink and drive.
Okay, so
and that kind of stuff.
It's an absolute no deal in our household when the children were growing up that they said somebody made me do it. Or if they told you to jump off the roof, would you have done that? So that's not even, because you have a mind, a brain, and a mouth concept. So that just doesn't happen. And also, I know, having worked in education and as a teacher, that your parents will be really concerned about the relationships and could these children not always be together. However, when you go out to work, you've got to learn to deal and negotiate and work with other people. So you're trying to build that encouragement with them. One of my children had quite a lot of anxiety as a young teenager, and we moved. And during that time, they were very academically able, and went into a class that no one else had gone into for 18 months and felt socially isolated and really unsure how to get around this, and saw this dreadfully unhappy child, and after being with it at school realised that it was genuine. They said, well, don't go to school because you can do correspondence, and we can. And then they made that decision, said, well, you know what, I'm going to give this a go, because if this is the worst thing in my life, then I'm going to get through this. And it was a change of school. So sometimes but make sure you investigate and give it a period of time, and try lots of other things, keeping them busy, getting them involved in things outside of school, because most children will have a time between 5 and 18 where they're feeling a little bit isolated. I've certainly had that experience as an adult, even though there's people around you, and learning those skills. And one of the things that they said that was really significant is that sometimes it's just one person that makes such a difference. And they've taken that as a takeaway. But gosh, in terms of resilience, now that person is, they've grown up into a great adult who is incredibly resilient. And I'm very proud of my children that they can manage themselves no matter the situation. 90% of the time. Touch wood.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think changing friendships is a topic we actually talk about in our book around like motherhood and when you've got friends that don't have babies and all that stuff. But even as a parent of teens, growing up, our friendships are changing, and now the kids, like, you don't hang out necessarily at all with the moms or the dads of the kids that you're the parents of your kids' friends. And so I think you're right about the when they start blaming and going, oh, somebody else made me do it, right? That's basically not taking ownership.
Yes.
So I always say, you are the CEO of your own life, which is a dangerous sentence to say to a teenager, of course. But the thinking is you make your own choices. You can't just say, oh, that person made me drink that beer or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more thing about friendships that's really interesting, that most people won't form a relationship that's a stereotypical friendship until their early 20s. And if you ask kids that, they'll figure out, well, we really don't know who we are. So we're having these experiences.
Yeah.
And then there's always also the popular children that everybody wants to go here, or everybody wanted to go to the school ball with the same guy. And that is part of learning about growing up. And there's a hierarchy. And when you're a teenager, there's about 5 things that makes you popular and socially acceptable.
Yeah.
However, as adults, there's all of these things, and that's just part of being a teenager. And quite often the most popular person, you go to a school reunion. Have you been to a school reunion?
No, but I would love to.
We
come from far away. Yeah.
Some of the most successful and wonderful popular people at school have not become those people.
Yes. Yeah.
And they have not become those people. It's really, that's that big picture again. It's just a very short time.
Yeah.
One of the strategies that we use is sometimes if the kids are watching TV, like we've been watching the No Good Nick series on Netflix, and we just started watching like Malibu Rescue. Anyway, sometimes I actually watch TV series with my kids, but I'm a little bit of a geek. I do like to debrief. So I'll be like, after the episode, I'll be like, so like who of those people, like who do you think would not be a very good friend? Or why do you think that she's behaving in that way? We kind of like debrief what happened in the episode. So I think that's quite a good way, because sometimes when you ask them about their actual friends, like one of my kids, he'd be like, I don't know, like he'll rut, like he won't give me much. Whereas if you talk about scenarios, like that person in that movie or that person in that show, and you can get a little bit more out of them and helping them to make these empowered choices about who they want to be friends with and what real friends and kindness really is all about.
Totally, and they may not respond in the moment.
Yeah.
Teenage boys tend to not to. There's a period of interesting grunting noises that will happen for a period, but that doesn't mean they're not taking it in. So it's always good to, without overburdening them with that kind of information. So definitely discussing those kind of scenarios and going to the movies together, obviously theatre and anything about stories and books. Yeah. But again, it really is just manipulating and manoeuvring and finding out what you think is best. Quick thing about friends, when definitely had this experience on many occasions where with both students and my own, where you can see somebody's probably not the greatest friend. So therefore you may be disencouraging, or look, it would be great if Lucy always come to our house. I'd feel more comfortable with that. That's just, I'm your mother and this is what that. Right. Sometimes it's the invisible fence. Sometimes
I love that concept.
It's just that you do need to do that.
Okay, or booking other things, making them busy so that they're unavailable.
Totally, like that. So you can, and then you could be terribly wrong as well, because they really are quite mysterious creatures. But that again, what you know and what your gut instinct as a parent too is quite good. Yeah, it's just being really careful around what's happening, and just it is guiding. Yeah, and questions are great.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, for you guys watching, if you've got specific scenarios, just come forward because you're out of the Facebook Live.
Here I am.
Comment below, and also on the replay, comment below, and we'll get back to you. Can we move it into the place of parents? Because I think as you get into that teen and tween space, I've had a lot of women in that what's next phase for themselves. They're like, okay, well, my kids are older, they're independent, they're literally like in their bedroom on their phone, or they're out being social. And a lot of at least I'll speak for the mothers, a lot of the mothers are like, okay, what's next in terms of maybe I'm ready to get a job, or maybe I'm ready to leave my job. I've been working full time. This is crazy. And I know that a lot of moms find, wow, I thought it would be easier in the teen years, or they wouldn't need me as much. And it's like, honey, they need you more than ever.
Yes, they do.
So what do you think about that?
I think too, with parents that are working, because there's a lot of working parents, that they need to be really kind to themselves as well. I was a working parent, and something that worked really well for me is that every day there was some downtime. So it's like, do not speak to me. You go to your rooms. It doesn't matter what's going on in there, as long as you're not escaping or there's anything illegal. I don't care. This 45 minutes or half an hour was for me just to regroup, get organised, because it's really busy. in terms of what, yes, you can be, because you're teaching your children how to evolve.
Yes, yes.
And everything that we've just said about children, of course, we're the same race. We can apply and say, well, what do I know? What do I feel? What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just reevaluating or checking in with yourself is something I do regularly during the day. It's just stop and go, well, we have a check-in. What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Just as a little survival tactic. So life is very, very short, and I know everybody says that.
Mm-hmm.
They say it for a reason. So there is time, and you can't. I often look at my adult children and say, can't you come back for a day all squishy and cuddly and go to the park and feed the ducks? Because you remember all the wonderful parts.
Yeah.
So it's just looking at, again, like I said about the 21st birthday, you know, you're at your 60th birthday. When you look back, where do you think you'd like, and what would you like to be happening? And also just grateful. These wonderful, beautiful human beings that you've made and brought into the world. And then, yes, I do want to do this. How am I going to make this fit? And parents can negotiate. Mothers are very good at it. You know, I could do this in the morning, I could do this at night, or I could do, and begin to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, I saw a speaker recently, and he talked about, he called it the third space, which is essentially a time of transition between your work day. So some people might go, well, I listen, what you're talking about. Exactly that. And you create, like, some people go, oh, well, like Matt used to bike home from work, and he loved it because it was enabled him to transition, to literally change gear.
Absolutely.
Some people listen to podcasts.
I do that.
But I think you're right. Otherwise, you bring it all through the door, right? You bring it through the door, and you don't have any time for your actual self to change gear. Yeah, definitely. What do you do? You work full time, Jacqui?
Yeah, so I work full time. So it's podcasts for me. So I will plug my phone in, and I will put in whatever my latest series is. And I don't even mind when it's really, really terrible traffic and it takes me 45 minutes to get home, because it means I get further through my podcast. And then usually when I get home, the first thing I'll be doing is like sorting out the washing and things like that. So I'll have my earphones in for a little bit and carry on listening to my podcast. So it's just, and everyone knows Mum's got her earphones in, you know, I'm it's my zone. Yeah.
I think I love the idea of my zone. So that just reminded me of quite a funny story that makes me feel a bit silly, is that I used to have a 25-kilometre drive. Now, in Auckland, that is quite a long time, depending on the traffic. So I talked to myself quite a lot, discussed what was going on.
Is this before podcasts and things?
No, I still do it now, confess. So I'm driving in the car, just talking about what I need to do. And if I had some things at work I needed to vent, so I pulled up at the lights, and I was quite angry about somebody, so I was busy talking, and I just happened to turn to look at them, and I was and the person looked at me and said, I love you too. I said, oh, what? So what? No, and they just, please, really, lights go green. So, you know, he was laughing because he could see that I was obviously venting. And then it was great, because in the car, hopefully people don't see you by yourself, you just let rip. And then another day, Siri said to me, I don't think that's appropriate.
When you're talking.
That's so funny. But likewise, our children need the same downtime. I mean, I find my son in particular, he gets home, and I have recognised, actually with both children, that to try and get them straight onto their homework is the wrong thing. They need a bit of downtime first. I'm realising that now more and more.
My husband's always like, you do your homework. And I'm like, they need to chill.
Yeah, they do. They need. So now I let them have a bit of, you know, they have their afternoon tea. They're playing on their phones.
Absolutely.
My daughter's looking at TikTok videos.
TikTok.
All that kind of stuff. And they're just doing, Jack's playing Clash of Clans, but I just leave them. I let them have half an hour where they have their afternoon tea, and they just have a bit of, and then I go, right, okay, now it's homework time. So
I try to they absolutely need downtime, because children, particularly when there's so much going on, is that they do get stressed. They can get very stressed. Downtime, rest, and of course sleep, which is and early bedtime is always good, no matter what.
Oh, well, hey, speaking of decisions, I made a decision last night. I was like, hey guys, I think it's time for us to have age-related bedtimes.
Oh, right.
Because my youngest, who's 8, he can stay up till 10:30. Like, he just keeps going. So he did not like that idea. The other kids love the idea. So I made that decision last night. So there you go. Hey, but we're probably going to wrap it up.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you guys about decision making, and especially everyone,
delicious decisions.
If you want to learn more about Monica, as mentioned, she's a speaker as well. So if you want to find out more about her, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook at monicamore.net, or my website with the same name.
Thank you very much for joining us today,
And
Monica.
thank you for inviting me. It's a real privilege.
Thank you for
very
listening,
much.
everyone, and keep the questions and comments coming.
And we've got a lot of episodes coming up. We're definitely going to look at relationships, marriage, how to handle separation when you've got kids in their teen and tween years. We're going to be looking at transitioning to school, but we're open to your guys' thoughts and comments. So definitely let us know. And until next time,
we're not the experts.
We're the best friends you never knew you had. Here I come to turn it off.